Hello there guys, and welcome to Mad Doc Minis. So I finally got my hands on some Tortuga Bay Space Marines, Mark III, my favourite. I wanted some of these since they first became available, but didn't find a good way of getting them in the UK at a good price. I scored these cheap on eBay and I'm really happy about it. So I'm going to do a little bit of a scale comparison for you against some other miniatures so you can draw your own conclusions on the size of these miniatures. First up, let's compare against a Mark III straight out of the box, unaltered. You can see here from this footage that there is a definite height increase and size increase. Look in particular at the size of the legs on the Tortuga Bay miniature. Quite a difference, isn't it? Much bulkier. I think it does very well here. It's a nicer looking miniature overall with better proportions. You may prefer the older proportions. Let me know in the comments if you do. Next up, let's compare against a Primaris Space Marine, an intercessor. You can see here that the intercessor definitely has a bit of a height advantage. So technically, these Tortuga Bay miniatures aren't quite Primaris size, which is how they're marketed. But I'm being a bit pernickety. It's an easy fix if you raise that base up a little bit. Certainly nothing that would bother me or stop me from getting more if I could. What do you guys think? Let me know. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. So next up, why don't we compare now against an Imperial Guardsman? How about a brand new Cadian? Wow, look at that. The Tortuga Bay miniature here doesn't look so miniature at all. He actually looks enormous, which is great. That's exactly how a Space Marine ought to look. The more realistic proportions on the Cadian only serve to exaggerate the difference, which I think works really well in this case. Moving on again, let's compare against a conversion of mine. This is a stretched Mark III. You can see here my conversion doesn't fare too well against the Tortuga Bay miniature. This is a cheap and easy conversion to do, but it is a compromise and always was going to be. You can really see it here. Look at the legs, look at the proportions. Not so good. I mean, I'm happy with them. They do what they need to do, but wow, if I could get more of these Tortuga Bay miniatures, I definitely would. Moving on again, here's another conversion of mine, a World Eater made out of a fusion of Mark III and Intercessor parts. Assault Intercessor to be specific. I'm really happy with this conversion. I think he matches up really well to the Tortuga Bay miniature here. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. And by the way, my World Eaters are definitely loyalists. I'm not turning to chaos quite yet. So moving on again, let's compare against another conversion of mine, a very similar conversion in fact. This next one was made out of Intercessor and Mark III again, but this time a tactical Intercessor. I also did a lot of work by adding on those rivets on the legs, as you'll see here. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but I'm happy with the outcome. Once again, I think this is a better looking miniature than that stretched Mark III, purely because of the size and the proportions of those Intercessor legs. They do most of the work for you. What do you guys think? Let me know. So, what are the conclusions about these Tortuga Bay miniatures? I was interested to do this scale comparison, and it's certainly interesting to see that they are in fact slightly shorter than Primaris Space Marines, so don't get caught out there. However, that being said, it is an easy fix, so don't stress about it. If you enjoyed the content, please consider liking and sharing. It really does help the channel to grow. And if you're not already subscribed, consider giving me a sub. Thanks ever so much for joining me, guys. Take care.